And the buccal swab of the defendant matches the DNA profile from that of the abandonment sample in the pizza box.
The Suffolk County DA confirming DNA taken from Rex Heuermann's cheek was consistent with the DNA found on a piece of pizza tossed into a trash can in Manhattan. That information came during Heuermann's latest court appearance for the Gilgo Beach serial killer case. Thanks for joining us here on Law and Crime. I'm Angenette Levy. Rex Heuermann, the now 60-year-old architect accused in 3 of the Gilgo Beach murders, was back in court Wednesday for a conference to discuss the status of his case. Heuermann appeared with his attorney, Michael Brown, with a fresh haircut. DA Ray Tierney spoke after the hearing. The focus at this stage of the case, having the state turn over all of the evidence collected against Heuermann, along with other material related to the nearly 13-year investigation into the Gilgo Beach murders. Additional items were turned over to the defense today.
It's over, I think, 5,000 pages of material. So primarily grand jury material, grand jury reports, grand jury exhibits, that sort of stuff. It's just a voluminous amount of stuff, and we're providing it on a rolling basis. So it's a continuing process.
That process of turning over evidence could take months. Heuermann has pleaded not guilty to the murders of Melissa Barthelemy, Amber Costello, and Megan Waterman. The women disappeared between July 2009 and September 2010. Their bodies were discovered in December of 2010. Tierney has said that Heuermann is the prime suspect in the murder of Maureen Brainerd Barnes, whose body was also found along Gilgo Beach.
We're working on the 4th Gilgo victim, and now we've expanded our investigation to include other bodies that were recovered in that area, and we'll speak about that when and if we're prepared to bring charges.
Many other sets of remains were found along a stretch of Ocean Parkway. Some of them have yet to be identified. But one thing Tierney addressed today, the DNA that his office says connects Heuermann to the crime scene. Tierney says testing has confirmed that DNA found on a hair in the burlap used to wrap one of the victims matches DNA from a pizza crust Heuermann tossed into the trash earlier this year. Tierney says a swab from Heuermann's cheek is consistent with the DNA on the pizza and the hair.
The buccal swab just erases all doubt.
But Heuermann's attorney says it may not be that simple.
DNA can be transferred. DNA can be transferred from me going up to the cameraman and shaking his hand, and I would say he would get my hair, but I have no hair, but he would get my DNA, and then he goes to a second person, and now it's transferred.
Ray Tierney has said his office has a cache of other evidence that links Heuermann to the murders, including cell phone records, email addresses, and burner phones. The defense says they're still waiting to see much of that evidence, but Brown described videos that he has received from prosecutors.
99% of those 4 external hard drives was what's called poll cameras. What the DA's office did is they set, and the police department I should say, they had poll cameras focused on my client's house from a year and a half prior up until the date of the arrest. What that shows, and this defies common sense that he is actually the murderer, what the poll cameras show is a guy who gets up in the morning, he goes to work, he comes home, he spends time with his wife and children. You see him chopping wood.
Brown says those videos defy the suggestion that his client is a monster.
The sheriff made a comment about how he's not making any emotions, right? And I know the press ran with that and said, oh, look, he's not showing emotions. Well, I have to tell you that when I first started on this case, I made it a point to tell him, just get through this, Rex. Get through this. Get to the point where we can go to trial. And don't show emotion. Don't let anything upset you. Just be stoic. And that's what he's done. And then we saw a comment, unfortunately, and I have a lot of respect for Sheriff Toulon, but the sheriff made a comment about he's not showing emotion. And from that, I can tell you there's something wrong with him. Well, that's just not the case. That's just sensationalism, and that's just things that, unfortunately, poison the jury pool.
Brown says that Heuermann is very involved in his defense, reviewing evidence at the jail. The investigation has been underway into the murders for nearly 13 years. Brown says he wants to see what other suspects police ruled out.
There's numerous other suspects that they looked at. I want to see those records. I want to see those notes.
For now, Rex Heuermann remains in the Suffolk County Jail where he's being held without bail. There will be a hearing on Monday to determine what happens to Heuermann's massive gun collection. Heuermann and his estranged wife want the guns returned so she can sell them, while Suffolk County wants them turned over to Nassau County to examine them to see whether any of them are owned illegally. For Law and Crime, I'm Angenette Levy.